All right, last night I started doing, well, really a couple nights ago, I did this base scenery, the cinders and gravel all through here. I extended this parking lot area, which had been like this, all the way over, and just got some base ground cover around. Got the silo in with some hobby tack, and then last night I started working with some more tufts and scenery mats, and started getting some scenery along, in front of the brewery there. Need to bring that all the way across with various weeds and colors. Got a couple places where I put some tufts in between the ties over here. The area between this track and this one, all of that is new. This here, I need to do that one. This whole thing didn't have anything in it. And I started this hill in the front. I had sort of this area done. So I started working it towards the track up there. All along here, this is all new, various mats and tufts, and these are the Martin Welberg high bushes. I like to use a couple different colors of that mixed in. Same with that. So I kind of worked those in with the Silflor tufts, and these are some Silflor mats. This mat is, who makes that? That is Heki. And I also used, what else did I use? There's another brand, the darker green. If you see that, there's a little patch there that needs to be worked in. Some here. That is, oh gosh, who makes that? Let me get my hand on it. That is this guy here, Busch. So a couple different brands. I really like the Silflor and the Martin Welberg stuff. And I usually come through after I've done these, I kind of rip the pieces and glue them down. And then I come in later with Heki Wildgrass, which is this stuff, and sort of work it over the top and kind of press it down. And that kind of blends these seams together so that you have some different colors, but not those stark lines. That just kind of helps blend things. So I'll be kind of using that technique, bringing that all the way like I've done. This is all new. Along the side of the road here is pretty much the way it's going to be. Same on this side. It just needs to all be blended in. There's some gaps in here. I'll put some larger bushes, and then I need to bring this around. I'll probably come in with some acrylic paint and cover up that blue with like a darker green or a brown color, and then start building the scenery in front of that. There'll be some various weeds and things through here, but this will be largely kept up, not too overgrown. And I'll need to figure out, that little area in there. I'll probably just cover it up with some bushes and shrubs and stuff. So just pulling back, let's get a nice little shot here. This is how it's looking as the building is done and starting to be incorporated in. What you doing, William?
Putting this
Yeah?
right over here. Like that?
Yeah, I think that's a good spot for it. Good job. Do you like it there?
Yep.
Okay. You want to do some more?
Sure.
All right. So my son William and I have put in a bunch more tufts and grass mats and weeds and stuff. And we also came in and just with some cheap green and I think we used brown or raw umber and burnt umber and some various greens just to kind of come along the bottom of the backdrop there where there was that blue, the old sky. There was about a quarter or a half an inch lip there. So we just kind of covered that up. Now it's ready to be covered up with shrubs and stuff, and we'll be able to blend the scenery from where we stopped here. Kind of keep coming down that little berm right over to the edge there and wrap around. Same thing back in here. Gets kind of dark back there, so we'll just put weeds and trees and things like that in there. Went ahead and got everything. There's still some glue here that's not dry, so you can see some white in there that won't show. The glue will dry clear, but got the weeds along the front of the loading dock, a few little spots in between the tracks. I'll probably come back and add some smaller tufts in between the ties through here. Kind of got this berm towards the road, kind of the way we want it, on both sides, around that switch stand there, coming down the road towards the camera. Pretty much how it's going to be. And starting to work along between where the scenery used to be or used to sort of stop out towards the track. And we need to do some more work here and blend some stuff in. You can see some wet glue there coming along all the way. And then sort of about right here is where we've stopped. And, you know, I need to keep working from right to left. This area in between the tracks here has some base stuff in, but we need some more of the lighter green mixed in there. Keep blending that. That's not quite where we want it, but this section here is getting close. And certainly the one back in there, I don't want to overdo it, so we might kind of leave it like that. And so that's how it sits right now. I am thinking about how to tie in the backdrop to the scene itself. And looking at a couple of different materials here to kind of run through there. And most of this is the same stuff that I do this kind of work with. I just wanted to kind of show how I do it. So what you see, this sort of tanner color here and some of that's pieces, not unlike this, of this color Silflor matte. It's like a autumn color, it's a tan. Then I've got these lighter green ones I mix in. There's some of it right there. Another big piece right there that hasn't been blended in yet. And so those are sort of two, and I have different patterns of this one. This one's more of like a constant pattern, and then I have one that's shorter, but with taller clumps in it. And I use those kind of materials to kind of cover a lot of this area. And then what I did right here, this is that same lighter green on the left there, glued down, and then I dry brushed like a yellow ochre type color over the top of it. And I did that in a couple of places over in this area too. And then the next thing I do after I do that is what you see, this sort of taller stuff. That's all Heki wildgrass. And so where these different colors, especially where they come together, like right here, I haven't put anything in there yet. And it's a little bit stark. But here I've got the lighter color and the very dark one I didn't even show in that, a few seconds ago. And then the one I did show. So that's three different things. So it gives some variation, but with that wild grass sort of spread across it, it tends to kind of blend in and start to look kind of convincing. And then these little tufts like that, that's the Martin Welberg bushes. And a little of that goes a long way, in my opinion, although I like it. And then lastly, as I start getting into a place like this, where I'm starting to go from a denser or whatever out towards gravel or dirt or, out in this area, I switch over to tufts. These are Silflor tufts. That's actually a bad example. That is actually that same thing as that. But other than that, these are all tufts kind of mixed together with one little weed. And as you come down and look at it, it starts to look convincing, as if it's, thinning out, like little just clumps of stuff versus, a hillside meadow type thing. So just real quick on the floor over here, it's all the different Heki things I have that I kind of work around with, but I tend to use this one the most for that blending. And this is that wild grass, number 1574. And I just take this and stretch it real thin and put it over the top. It's usually a lot more than this, but you grab it and you kind of can pull it real thin and wispy, and then just lay it over the top of the other scenery materials. And it, in my opinion, helps to blend in. I don't know if that's how you're supposed to be doing it, but just from experimentation and stuff, that's the method I've come up with. So just trying to decide now how to do this. Both of those colors, actually, I'm talking about the bushes, because my thought is that little green area right below the backdrop, I would kind of cover that with these bushes and then run some of this grass right up to it, blend things in. make that area kind of look a lot like this, as well as that, and just sort of bring that over. I may even slap a tree or something in there. So we'll see. Just trying to work it out. So I got this put in last night, using the same techniques I was discussing. And yeah, I think it looks okay. The lighting's not great as you get way back over there in the corner anyway, but that's okay. That's not really where your eye's supposed to be focused. So I think I like how that turned out. Got a couple of different things that I didn't mention into the mix. This is some Polack white flowers. I guess it kind of looks like clover to me, so I got a little piece of that in there. And then I got some leaf foliage, Heki leaf foliage mixed in a couple little spots. And kind of worked this area in as well. Same techniques there, just to kind of tie in those mats that were so starkly different before. But now I feel like it's got some pretty good variation to it. Looks like a sort of unkept grassy area. Probably need a little bit more right here on the edge, just to kind of clean up that seam there. But other than that, I think I like how that's turned out. The last thing I did, if you look at this parking lot, to kind of simulate the tire path, I used a Vallejo pigment. Let's see, this one, light slate gray, and a brush like this where I've cut some of the bristles off so it's fairly firm, and I get some of the pigment and then kind of work it in pretty firmly into the sort of paths that I want. And then it kind of looks rough at that point, so I come in with a cheap makeup brush and just sort of smooth things out a little bit. But it gives a nice like gravel dust effect. You can see the sort of the tire tracks there and there, like you would see. And I still have that shed structure that I want to put back in sort of here. These two tracks are brewery tracks, but this one here in the front is more of a railroad, the railroad itself, and there's a little shed that was here. And as you're switching this end of the layout, I usually pop the caboose there and rebuild the train on this track. So I look at that as more railroad right-of-way, and this stuff over here to be more the industry itself. So kind of in the same scene, but that's not a brewery track really. I look at this area as kind of back to railroad property. So I'm gonna kind of pivot my attention to working on that shed, and that'll largely wrap up this end of the layout. Before I come in and do any scenery in front of that loading dock, I want to come back and do a little bit more work on the soap company. That was one of the earlier buildings I did, and it looks okay. But I think I've learned some things between that one and that one. So I want to go back and probably do some things like replace some of those doors, kind of rework the loading dock with some of the etching like I did over there. And I might even do an office or something with some lights on, or a couple of rooms with something going on in there. Maybe an open loading dock there as well. We'll see. I am going to just keep on moving with scenery, working my way down. I'm going to get out the static grass gun and do some of that in here. That's what I did here and kind of along over in there. That's actual static grass that I placed myself versus the mats. So I'm going to come back and maybe do some more of that on this side and tie in. So I'll share that as I go. Reworking that building's not something I'm going to do anytime soon. So I'm going to do the scenery in these little spots in between these tracks and leave behind the back track alone for now. More to come. Yeah, this is just sort of an overhead view showing the area that I've now scenicked. So really from about there and coming towards us, all that grass is new. That wrapping around along the backdrop here, the gravel and cinders through here is all new. The weeds, all of this is new. This whole area. So that's kind of what I've done, and this is sort of what it looks like from from above. If you were standing and operating, this is what it would sort of look like. So just to kind of show that. Let me know what y'all think. I'm experimenting. So I kind of want to rehab this shed a little bit before I put it back on the layout. And I've already done that once. I believe this was my dad's. It was in some stuff I got somewhere along the line as I was collecting all my old N-scale trains and stuff from the house, gosh, probably 15 or 20 years ago, as I was setting off on my own. And I guess this was in the mix. This was actually HO scale, obviously. And at the time, it was that, I don't know if you can see the orange little pins there. That's what color this all was. I don't even remember what color the roof was, but it was pretty much unpainted, like it had just been put together. So at that time, I came in and kind of repainted it this metallic color, repainted the roof, put some ground foam on it, and that's how it is. But I think this is some stuff I did back in 05 when I was sort of just getting out on my own and kind of messing around with my first sort of layout as an adult. And I think I've learned some things since then, so I'm gonna rehab this. I think what I'm gonna do, since I want it to be in that gravel lot, is I'm actually gonna cut this. It came with a molded base that had some random piles of stuff and whatever on it. I'm gonna cut that all off and just separate the building. Once I've done that, hopefully I can get to the inside of it. I can take the window glazing off, pop the window out. I'll probably leave the door kind of cracked like it is. But I want to kind of, make this look like a used, so I add some weathering, and I don't know. It just doesn't look quite right to me. I think my shed rehab went okay. We did a little wash, same paint we used before on the pad over on the brewery. That pavement color with cut pretty thin with water, and then put some weathering powders on there as well, just to kind of dirty it up and get it a little weathered, less shiny. Did some more different streaking effects with powders and fading on the roof, and I think that looks a lot better. We just added some weeds around it, and that barrel, which we did a little of the same rust effects on that as we've used elsewhere. So I feel like that pulls that scene together, and I think we are done with this end of the layout. I might come back at some point with a small tree back right against that shadow where things start to disappear. Put a small tree or two back there, and just that would tie things out. I just haven't made any yet, so we'll come back and do that. But other than that, I'm going to call this scene done. I think we're good to go here in Manchester by the brewery. All right, the area I want to focus on next is as we come away from the brewery down there, coming right to left, sort of picking up here with the edge of where I've used these torn mats, and on over into this dirt parking lot. Basically this area right here. I want to use regular static grass. I've only experimented with it a little bit. I think I've mentioned before, that's the real deal right there that I did myself. That kind of goes along by the track and comes out right there. So that's all I've ever done with actual static grass. So I want to mess around with it, do a little experimenting, see what might look good right here. I have a very good idea in my mind of what I want it to look like, and I'm kind of modeling late summer. So I've got a picture, and I'll put it up on the screen. And what I took this up on the Blue Ridge Parkway back in August, and the Blue Ridge Parkway is up higher elevations of Virginia. It's probably a month ahead of where the season might be here in Richmond. So that, that's, if it's August up there, maybe similar to early September here in Richmond. And that's the look I'm going for. There's also a field near my office. Obviously I have not been there this year, but years past, looking at it at this field near my office also sort of captured the look I was going for. But what I noticed about it was there's a lighter green sort of new growth grass sort of near the ground, sort of lower, not as tall, but it's green. And the taller stalks are this sort of tan color. Probably 2 years ago, I set out to experiment with the static grass, that little area I showed you earlier. And this is, I bought 3 different lengths of Silflor static grass. So I've got the 2 mil, the 4, and the 6.5. And I got 4 different shades. So I've got spring, summer, late summer, and autumn. Looking at that picture, I think the best way for me to simulate that effect with the lighter green stuff down towards the ground, the more tan stuff being the taller bits and pieces, I think if I use this 2 mil late summer, it's a kind of a nice dark green color that blends in fairly well with other stuff I've used on the layout to this point. With, I think, the 6.5, let me try the 6.5, autumn as that sort of straw color for the taller stuff. I think that's what I'm going to try. So we'll see how this goes. Around the same time I bought the Silflor static grass, I bought this static grass gun on eBay. There's the brand. It's got a couple of 1.5 volt batteries, and it's pretty strong. It's not, you know, gosh, the price point was nothing like the $100 you see for some of the higher name brand things. I think it's a guy that just made it himself, but I think it's going to work pretty well. I've used it before, and the charge is very strong. I mean, you could shock yourself with this thing. It comes with this, you know, when you do static grass, you want to put a charge on the medium that you're applying the grass to, and then there's also the opposite charge here, and so the stuff falls through it vertically, hits the charged surface down here, and stays vertical. But in order to get this charge into the surface, this little thing is kind of hard to work with. So I fashioned this myself. There's a coat hanger there inside a what used to be a pen that's been sacrificed for this, and a bunch of duct tape and super glue. And so I just clip the alligator clip onto the top of that thing, and then I can very easily, let me switch hands here, I'm a righty, get the charge down where I need it without shocking myself. I'm nowhere near anything electrical in the middle of this thing. So I kind of hold that with the right hand, invert this, and shake with the left hand, and that's how I do it. Again, I'm not, you know, like anything else on this channel, I am no expert. I'm experimenting. I'm watching what other guys are doing, trying to be, you know, share sort of what I'm doing. Right or wrong, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But this is the plan for this, and we'll give it a try and show you what it looks like. All right, most of the glue is dry now, and this is the 2 mil shortest one I've got, late summer on the bottom. Then I tried to come in with the 6.5 mil of the tan one, and it just wouldn't lay down very well. So I vacuumed a lot of it up, and then came back with the 4 mil autumn color one, and that seemed to stand up better. And I'm just starting to kind of work in some of that Heki wild grass along the edge there. And I need to come in and put some bushes and stuff in. But yeah, that's what it looks like. So I'm pretty pleased with that. It ties in fairly well once I add some more bushes and stuff into that little area. I think it'll fit right in. So I'm pretty happy with that. So here's how the scenery's looking so far. Well, I couldn't leave it sitting like that, so I came in and little Heki wild grass, little of the Martin Welberg bushes, kind of blended in. Now I feel like that fits in nice. I may come in and do a little bit more sort of in this little area, or I may make another junk pile, maybe bigger junk. So to be determined. So as that dries and sets, I may come in and play around and just add small little bits of other stuff, maybe some more of this stuff up in there, tie things together. I've got that Polack, I've got white, and there's some yellow around here somewhere. Actually, now that I'm looking at it, I don't see it right here. But some of that white, maybe I've got a yellow one just like that, maybe work small little bits and pieces of that in here just to give it some variation. And then I'm coming, again, right to left. And I'm gonna start thinking about this embankment here. Well, I love doing scenery, and it was fun to get into it a little bit and get some scenery done in Manchester. So thanks everybody for watching. I hope everyone is well and safe.